part of me can't help wishing this place had a better name than Mount Ordeals. Especially since the only ordeal we're gonna have to go through is changing one character's class. It's not really gonna benefit either of these kids. And it's a class change that, as I noted before, was barely hinted as a thing we might need to consider before we got here. We had, at one moment, Cecile regretting being a Dark Knight while in bed, though that seemed more due to the orders he was being given than because being a Dark Knight in itself was bad. We had the King of Fabul say the Dark Sword might not be enough to fight against the Kingdom of Baron in the same sequence where he handed us a better Dark Sword. Bit of a mixed message there. And then we were told to become a Paladin after our recently gained ship was destroyed out of nowhere and our party gone. Not exactly great build-up, it just felt arbitrary as hell. And kind of feels like this game's biggest storytelling issue is that its opening is too damn good compared to the vast majority of what comes after that. Everything up to the point of Rydia and Cecile waking up in the inn and becoming an official team is absolute A-grade brilliance that can draw you in regardless of your opinion of role-player games in general. Everything after that point feels like C-grade passable work that never really rises to any form of excellence. I know it's possibly premature to say that sort of thing at this point in the game, but considering the way the game handled Baron gaining 2 of the 4 crystals via absolute forced bullshittery, and then add in us losing Rosa without a fight, then losing Yang, Rydia, and Edward not long after in a non-fight cutscene with the frickin' Leviathan, the way it all was handled just felt mind-numbingly dumb. Again, give us a sense that the villains are legitimate powerhouses for us to be worried about. Give us a sense the heroes are struggling due to things that are not just asspulls. So far, I'm not really convinced the villains are fully earning their victories. Anyway, if nothing else, this mountain is doing a good job of draining our magical resources. And what makes it worse is that Cecile won't even get all that much magic when he changes class. Or at least not much MP. Okay. So just as I'm complaining about us running out of magical energy, a man with the ability to replenish his own magic shows up. I suppose I can't really complain about the coincidence that he arrived to the same place we're at after the contrived way we lost the rest of our team. I also can't really complain about the kids who know better spells than him at this point, but still hold him with some level of respect. Well, respect from the girl at any rate. The boy's shtick is that he doesn't seem to respect anyone, and his sister is there to try to keep him in line. I know their dynamic is supposed to be funny, but all it's really doing for me is highlighting the fact that there's no real dynamic with the rest of the crew in this game. We saw no rapport between Cecile and Edward. Yang was just there for a while for the sake of being there, and yeah. As functional as everything is in this game, I feel like it needed some more fleshing out. Cecile, you survived that shipwreck. Just because you didn't see anyone else in that section of beach doesn't mean you were the only survivor. And I most definitely feel the need to point out that he's showing just as little emotion for losing Rydia as he does for losing the nameless members of the crew of that nameless ship. I know that Rosa is supposed to be the love of his life and all, but he should show at least a little more emotional connection with the other cast members that he lost on that ship. Especially for a character who had such a big impact on the audience. Just because you don't give a damn about anything going on doesn't mean he doesn't have a good reason to be pissed. You just don't forgive and forget someone killing your daughter. Not that either of these kids know that happened, because nobody's explaining it to them. Considering you're going to trade in one sword for another, I just do not see the point in this quest right now. This isn't exactly a Sith Lord trying to renounce his evil ways and become a Jedi here. Cecile has shown that he is fundamentally a good man. His big thing should be trying to find more agency for himself instead of being a tool for his lord, but then again, he kinda got rid of, following his lord kinda early on, but he's been pretty directionless after that. Anyway, we've got 3 mages and 1 physical fighter on this team. And I'm a guy who prefers to deal with things physically. Definitely annoying, and it's something that the remake won't be able to fix for me when we get to it. It's a fundamental part of how the parties are set up in each stage of the game. Well, all we can do is adjust tactics and see what we can do. Onwards and upwards. I somehow doubt that there'd be much point in going back to town to see if there's any equipment to buy for Tella, though maybe I should have considered heading back for the sake of getting our other 2 mages some rest, and then buying some more healing items to relieve some of the strain we're going to be feeling as we keep pushing on. Well, guess we'll just have to see if I end up paying for that bit of ego as I keep pushing. Yeah, Tella just has the basic fire spell, not Fira like the Black Mage Kid does, and he has Cure and not Cura like the White Mage Kid does. He still hits harder than Cecile's hits against these zombies, but he's not gonna be the major damage dealer out here. Now, I know it's a bit of a cliche to say that an old man has forgotten more than the young buck has learned, but usually, in various stories that try to pull that sort of thing, that comes across as the old man still managed to be more capable than the younger crowd, and they have to find ways to bridge that gap. Hell, that was even the case for Tella back when we first met him at the beginning of the game, but right here and now, he just cannot come across as some kind of crutch character to help us out. His only real benefit is that he's got the spell Osmose. Nothing else here is all that impressive at this stage. Okay, Cecile should focus on the yellow guys, the soul things, while Tella focuses on the zombies behind him. I know they're listed as wraiths on the nameplate thing, but anything that uses that kind of sprite is going to be a zombie for me. Does that count as me being not especially respectful to this kind of enemy? I mean, sure, the fact that Cecile isn't really allowed to kill them should make me at least a little more wary of the bastards. Still, we've been killing them left and right on our way up the mountain with our mages, and I somehow doubt we're gonna see all that much crap from them. The only attack move they have is just basic physical attacks. They have no means of counterattacking us, and they have no means of messing with our status as far as I can tell. So they're just a mild inconvenience at the moment, and I'm sure part of the thing when we become a paladin is going to involve Cecile slicing through them easily to help convey that he's become stronger. Bit of a cheap way to convey strength, especially since they're just arbitrarily resistant to our attacks at the moment. Dear God, a lot of things around here come across as so arbitrary it's downright obnoxious. Like the fact that mages trying to swing physically is more likely to miss simply to encourage you to use spells for damage. I'm already more than encouraged enough to have black mages use spells because they do more damage that way. But that kind of encouragement doesn't mean a damn thing when the problem is how much MP we have. And Palam's well has most certainly run dry right now. I'm sure that's another moment that's supposed to make us chuckle or something, but somehow I doubt that the noise that was bothering the girl was being caused by the guy. This game's world just doesn't have the kind of life needed to pull off that sort of minor thing for the sake of a minor thing. I'm sure it's somehow going to be relevant at some point soon. Oh, lovely. She slapped a silent spell on a kid who had already spent all of his magical energy. And the same move gives Tella a completely different status effect. No clue what's going on here. I just know that Lilith obviously feels like a more threatening enemy than the two blood bowls in front of her. Then I suppose that was pretty damn obvious from the start, wasn't it? After all, she has more muscle on her than those two thugs. Unfortunately, what wasn't so obvious was the fact that Cecile can do a good amount of damage to the blood bones when the zombies are things he just can't handle that well. Seriously, just what the hell is going on around here? Feels entirely inconsistent what Cecile's blade can harm on this mountain. If his sword isn't allowed to damage some undead, why not all of them? Definitely a decent place to replenish some MP, and also a good place to take a bit of a break in general. Not that I'm gonna end the clip here, just save. It looks like we can fit all of the raw footage from the next sequence into this clip without going over half an hour. Good to know that a single tent is enough to get all of our MP back, at least at this stage of the game. I'm sure that'll change as we keep leveling up. Assuming we can with all the party switching that's going on. If the whispers in the wind are saying they'll enjoy killing you all, then it's probably a bad time to bother asking who the hell is coming for you. Just pull out your weapons and be ready to fight. Pretty sure we've been fighting your undead minions all the way up this mountain. Granted, that's a different color palette for the zombies, but still, it'll take more than making them varying shades of red to be intimidating. Though, speaking of intimidating, it's easy to say that we're probably gonna have to deal with at least one more fight against this Scarmagillion guy. I very much doubt he's going to just remain a cloaked figure, considering he's one of Golbez's lieutenants. Should I ask why Porum's spell seems to be taking so long? Dear God, that is a very inconvenient charge time for that particular trick. So absolutely every attack that hits Scarmagillion here is gonna cause a counterattack of lightning, regardless of if it was a spell or physical attack. That's kind of annoying, but it's not doing all that much damage, so we can ignore it. It's not as annoying as trying to figure out how to pronounce his full name. I'm pretty tempted to just call him Scarm for the remainder of his appearances. Okay, so the long charge-up time was because I told them to do their twin magic thing. Sure, I get that that's part of how they balanced it, but it's kind of funny that the two kids combined managed to do a spell called Comet, when Tella said his main reason for coming to the mountain was to learn something called Meteor. I'm pretty sure they've got him outdone in every way then. But it's also kind of annoying that it took so long, considering each of the twins is faster than that on their own, and since they're twins, they should be able to coordinate more smoothly than that. Well, I suppose that... yeah, it's just... gameplay and story segregation not working too well here, that's all I can say. Yeah, there is absolutely no way that's the last we'll see of Scar. Well, that looks like a good enough job of healing after that boss fight. Now, let's get across that bridge. Right. Utterly predictable that the bastard who's most definitely in charge of the undead is not so easy to kill. And that's most certainly a far more interesting looking appearance than the generic cloaked figure with glowing eyes we saw earlier. The guy looks like a combination of a ghoul and some kind of plant monster. So of course the best way to hurt him is with fire, just like before. If you're gonna use a taunt like breathe this, then send out a gas or something. Not a flashy bit of light that has some musical notes on it. I also have absolutely no idea what he did to us with that counterattack, or why he's going to do it again, to no real effect. All I know is that it's not doing any direct damage to us, it's just making us kind of glow a bit, and we're just pouring the hurt onto it. I probably should have had Palom, I think it is, use Fira again, since that did so much more damage than fire, but I kind of just want to compare how much damage fire does from each of our black mages here. Besides, we might need to save some MP for whatever comes after this bastard or something, because he is not impressing me in the least. Seriously, what is Cursed Elegy even doing here? I know he's doing it every time we set him on fire, but whatever this counterattack is doing is not all that obvious in the middle of the fight. I just know that there's some kind of status effect going on that is not immediately obvious. Come on, Skarm, give me the sense that you're a major threat. This is your round 2. I feel like you're underperforming compared to your first fight. Hell, I dare say that Tel has been more effective than you, and he became obsolete around the time we killed that grinning octopus thing. Hell, using the same spell as Palom, he's still inflicting less damage than the kid. This is just embarrassing for the old man. It kind of makes it more understandable why the boy doesn't seem to have much respect for this supposedly great sage. Right. Healing magic hurts the zombified boss and apparently doesn't trigger that weird counterattack spell. Not that that spell has done anything to make me feel in any way intimidated by it. Pretty sure that Fira spell was overkill by that point. Oddly funny that I didn't go out of my way to end that boss as soon as I could. Maybe in the remake I'll have more respect for him, but here, dear God, he's just a speed bump. Well, we already knew how to fight the undead due to all the practice we had just getting up here, so we didn't really have to stretch our imagination much to figure out how to kill the undead boss. If anything, I'm annoyed that he was so confident after he'd already gotten his ass handed to him just before the bridge. And I'm definitely seeing no lingering effects from that spell he kept using as a counterattack. Kinda felt like his second phase was easier than his first, and that definitely should not have been intentional. Right. Forgot that Porum was poisoned. They probably should have made that icon a bit more obvious on the menu screen, and I definitely should have had the sense to buy a lot of antidotes and potions before getting this far. Ah well, we're managing despite that so far. Alright, what fresh bullshit are we introducing out of nowhere this time? Is this Cecile's actual father, or just some deity who happens to refer to mortals as his, children? Excuse me for wishing that the story did more to justify this class change. They keep saying it's going to be 100% necessary, but I don't really feel it. And, yeah, apparently just grabbing a sword that slowly descended from the heavens is enough to give Cecile a complete wardrobe change. Now, I can't really say all that much about the costume change in terms of fashion, but I kind of wish Cecile still had a helmet on, and I don't see how the cape makes him a better warrior. Anyway, time for a duel against our reflection. Well, at least he told his allies not to get involved in this fight. That's better than when Cain was slapping Cecile around in the crystal chamber earlier and nobody did a damn thing. Anyway, the gimmick in this fight is, well, it's not actually bad, but it's not well done in terms of storytelling or gameplay mechanics at the moment. The idea is that we just use defend over and over again, and the Dark Knight will kill himself, since every turn he uses the multi-hit attack Darkness, the same one that drains the health of the user. You're not really supposed to fight back, but in at least this version of the game, I try to say bullshit to that to some degree or another. We are not Obi-Wan Kenobi here. We do not need to follow the Jedi way, and we don't have counterattacks of our own. What we have is a sword and a healing spell. Not even any armor. I mean, sure, there aren't too many charges on that healing spell, but still, I'm just not a fan of this redemption arc in this game. Maybe the remake will pull it off in a way that doesn't make me feel there's too many steps missing in this leg of the journey. And just maybe, the gameplay will be improved in the remake in such a way that I genuinely do want to block the attacks our Dark Reflection is throwing at us, instead of trying to trade at least a few blows with the bastard. Hell, we're notably faster than the guy at the moment, so even when I hit defend, we end up getting to our next turn and lose our guard, so I have to select it again in a hurry. Not that I'm sure it's even actually increasing our defense. Yeah, it really feels like we're taking the same amount of damage regardless of if we're blocking or not. I'm pretty sure I'm just fighting to see the end of the story, not for justice or anything like that. The game's got me interested enough to see where it goes from here, and there's enough good things about the game to make me want to do the remake of it later, even if the story kind of took a bit of a drop after the opening. But I wouldn't really say that I'm personally invested in what's going on, or all that excited about what comes next. Anyway, that does it for our quick little mirror match. Can you really call it a mirror match if your reflection isn't fighting the way you would? I kind of liked the triumphant music there. Kind of felt guilty for talking over it, but it's a damn shame I liked the music significantly more than the actual moment it was trying to be triumphant for. Definitely says something that I'm more invested in Tella learning new spells out of nowhere than Cecile having an entire class change operation. Not only is Tella a party member who enters and leaves the party at varying points, while Cecile is the central, always followed character, Cecile had a extended scene for his upgrade here. Tella just happened to be in the same room and went, "Oh, so that's how that works." Nothing active he had to do here, he just had to be passive in the background while Cecile fought the dramatic fight in the foreground. Would you have preferred if the disembodied voice called you Moon instead? You certainly have hair as pale as the moon, that's for sure. right. Time to go all the way back to the village. And there's one major factor that will make our journey back a very big pain in the ass. While Cecile's class change has given his sprite some nice shiny armor and a new sword, it has unequipped our armor and put nothing in its place. The only armor he can equip now is the armor we left behind back in town, because we weren't allowed to equip it at the time. Excuse me for finding that incredibly dumb. And even more dumb, the spell that Tella came to this mountain to learn specifically requires more MP to cast than he actually will ever have. So we can never get to try out the super powerful spell he went out of his way to gain for the sake of the story when we're actually going through gameplay. Not that it would be all that efficient to use it against this random batch of grunts. I just would like the option to use it if I wanted to. You're kidding me. That yellowhead monster thing isn't dead yet? Why? Why do I feel like this random encounter is more dangerous than the 2 previous scripted fights we just went through? I know, to some degree it is my fault, and not just the game, since I'm choosing some wrong options purposefully, like choosing not to buy that armor back in town. Still, it's kind of funny to think about how this game just seems to love tripping up people who are playing this for the first time. Just like it's funny to think about the fact that Palom and Porum have higher magic stats than Tella, a guy who is supposed to be a very renowned mage. Sure, he's getting old and left his prime in a ditch some time ago, but still, it's one thing for Rydia to become a bigger magical badass than him. It's another for the pair of kids we just met to do the same. I'm afraid Tella can't really stand side by side with the likes of Dumbledore and Gandalf. As an old, wizened wizard, Tella is about as forgettable and unimpactful as they get, at least for now. We'll just have to see if that changes as the story progresses. Yeah, this dungeon is really making it somehow feel more dangerous coming down than up, when the whole changing into a paladin thing should have made Cecile come across as stronger. They are really not doing a good job of just pushing how great this might be for our hero. Well, that should about do it for this clip. The events might not have landed that well, but it was still pretty eventful.